My child, stop and listen. Truly listen, for this moment is sacred. You've heard many voices pulling at your attention, but now I, the Lord your God, am calling you by name. My child, where are you? I truly need you now. This is not a question born of ignorance, but of love, and ache in my heart for the distance between us. I am not calling to condemn you, but to awaken you. The world has grown loud, your soul has grown weary, and yet I am here, reaching for you. You not turn away. Something eternal depends on your response right now. My child, listen. Before the noise remembers it is loud, before your worries wake and stretch their claws, before the world claims your attention with 1,000 small urgencies, hear me call your name in the quiet. I am here, and I am speaking to you. You have wondered whether my voice is only memory, a leftover echo from a gentler season, but I tell you now the echo is not your imagination. It is the river of my presence still running beneath the surface of your days, inviting you to kneel and drink. You think I asked, where are you? Because I have lost sight of you in the crowd, as though I am searching every street and cannot find you. But I see you perfectly, the guarded smile, the practiced strength, the thoughts that wander when the room grows still, the anxieties you fold and hide like letters you never intend to send. I asked, where are you? So that you might look where you have placed your heart, so that you might discover which altars you have been tending without noticing their smoke. You have learned to function without wonder, to move without pausing, to speak without listening, to plan without praying, and yet even in that hurried rhythm, you sense a softness tapping at the edge of your attention, a warmth brushing your spirit like dawn against closed eyes. That is me. I call not with thunder today, but with tenderness, for I know how your soul startles when the world has trained it to brace for impact. I do not demand you prove yourself worthy before you turn. I do not line up your failures like stones and ask you to carry them to me. I do not measure your distance and shame you with a map. I simply say your name, again and again, until your defenses grow curious and your heart peeks through the cracks you thought were permanent. You have prayed in whispers you were sure I did not hear, prayers that were more ache than sentence. I gathered each one like dew, kept them close, and let them water the garden you will walk with me again. You have sat at tables where laughter felt thin and applause felt hollow. You have scrolled through hours and reached the end emptier than you began. You have tasted the bright promises of the moment and found them sweet for a breath and then dusty on your tongue. And still, I did not turn away. I traced the edges of your longing. I read the alphabet of your tears. I followed the paths your thoughts wandered when no one was watching, and I formed a sanctuary there, a small room of mercy inside you where we could meet even when you did not know you were meeting me. When you felt nothing, I was not absent. When you felt everything, I was the hand steadying the cup. When you lay awake rehearsing scenes that never happened and disasters that never came, I sat at the bedside and breathed peace into the air, a whisper you could not name but which kept you from sinking beneath the weight of your imaginings. I have called you in the song of morning birds and in the hum of a refrigerator at 2 a.m. I have called you while you were driving and forgot the last 10 miles. I have called you in the long shower where your thoughts finally stop pretending and tell the truth. I have called you in the way sunlight found your floor and in the way an old memory surprised you with tenderness instead of pain. Do not despise the small ways I speak. I prefer to arrive in the humble places, to sit upon the stool of your ordinary and make it a throne of presence. You have asked me for a sign, something undeniable, and I have given you many. Some you saw and smiled at, some you missed because they wore familiar clothes. The friend who texted at the exact minute your strength thinned. The line in a song that felt written for the version of you you haven't shown anyone. The unexpected laugh that broke a day of heaviness. The sudden courage to say, help me, even if only to the mirror. These are my fingerprints on the table of your day. Yes, there were moments when you thought I was silent. Child, silence is often the soft blanket I lay over your frantic mind so your spirit can hear me without the static of your thoughts. I am not withholding myself to punish you. I am deepening the well so when the water rises, you drink more than a sip. Come, answer me now, not with perfect words, but with honest ones. Tell me where you are, not your address but your ache, not your achievements but your emptiness, not your polished answers but your questions that still tremble. Bring me the part of you that is tired of being impressive. Bring me the worry that wakes you early and the memory that arrives uninvited. Bring me the habit you keep promising to manage and the fear you keep promising to outgrow. I am not embarrassed by your need. I am moved by it. I am not intimidated by your confusion. I am present within it. When I call your name, I am not summoning you to an interrogation, but to an embrace, not to a courtroom but to a table set with mercy, not to a lecture but to a lullaby that strengthens your bones. You have waited for a better time, a cleaner season, a holier mood, but love does not wait for you to become worthy. Love makes you worthy while you rest within it. So answer me now, even with a whisper. Here I am. And as you do, feel how the room shifts, how the air warms, how the long corridor of your heart lights lamp by lamp, because I, your God, have stepped close, not to find you, but to let you find me finding you. Feel the gentle pull right now, the subtle tug you can't quite explain, like the tide turning before you notice the moon. You haven't sprinted away from me so much as drifted, inch by unnoticed inch, carried by the currents of busyness, opinions, screens that never sleep, commitments that multiplied like vines around your ankles until you called the tangle normal. You didn't wake up and decide to forget me. You simply made 100 small choices that felt harmless until the sum of them built a wall you never meant to construct. And yet, even as you were building it, I was watching you with a tenderness that never blinked, tracing the outlines of each brick, memorizing the pressure points where my love would one day press and the wall would soften. I saw the mornings when you reached for your phone before you reached for me, the evenings when fatigue dressed itself as honesty and told you prayer could wait until tomorrow, the conversations where you laughed at what made you sad inside because it felt safer to match the room than to reveal your soul. I watched not to condemn, but to companion you, the way a shepherd follows a sheep that has mistaken the distant glimmer for water and walked farther than it realized. You kept saying, "I'm fine," but your spirit knew that fine is a costume and home is the sound of my name on your lips. I noticed how your circle shrank to the radius of your responsibilities, how you moved from crisis to calendar to checklist, excelling in everything except rest. I saw you promising yourself, "I'll return when things slowed down," but things did not slow down. They learned your pace and demanded more of it. I leaned close in small mercies, a sudden quiet that felt like a hallway into peace, a memory of worship that stirred your chest, a sunrise that looked like a door, but you told yourself those were accidents of mood instead of me. Even so, I never stepped back. When you took detours through approval, I walked the shoulder. When you wandered into cynicism, I stood at the edge, speaking hope like a lighthouse speaks light. When you tested the fences of your own endurance, I strengthened the places that would have snapped. The distance you feel is real to you, but it was never meant to be, and it has never been mutual. You sense miles while I have kept inches. You perceive silence while I have sung over you in notes your hurry could not hear. Hear me now. You are one turning of the heart away from the illusion of awareness. You do not need a map, only a moment. You do not need to retrace every misstep, only to let me take your hand where you stand. Bring me the calendar, and I will teach it to keep Sabbath. Bring me the screen, and I will sanctify your attention. Bring me the anxious rhythm, and I will set a new tempo that feels like breathing in a place with open windows. You think you must run to close the gap, but you need only stop. The moment you stop, you will notice that I am already beside you, not as a reprimand, but as a friend who refuses to let you walk alone. I do not require a dramatic return, only an honest one. Whisper, I'm tired of drifting, and watch how the current changes, how the unseen ropes begin to loosen, how the magnets hidden in your heart reorient toward the north, that is my presence. I will not ask you to undo what is past. I will meet you in the present and grow something truer. Let me walk you back through the ordinary, the desk, the kitchen, the commute, and show you that home is not a place you lost, but a presence you are learning to notice again. And when the old currents call you, and they will, I will teach your soul to answer, not today. I have been found by love. Listen to the weight in my words, child. I do not wound you with them. I open my heart so you can see how fiercely you matter. I am God, and yet I speak to you in the language of longing because love, to be known by you, must bend low enough to be understood. I have everything and lack nothing, and still I choose phrases like ache and yearn, not because I am incomplete without you, but because I refuse to be complete without inviting you to share my fullness. When you drift, I feel it as absence at a table I prepared with laughter in mind, the place setting bearing your name waiting like a quiet song for your voice to arrive. I remember the way you once turned to me with uncalculated trust, and I do not mourn the loss of that season as if it cannot return. I ache because I know what you are missing now, how peace would settle like a shawl on your shoulders, how clarity would thread through your thoughts like gold, how kindness would loosen the knots in your chest until compassion became your natural breath. You think I am mostly concerned with your performance, tallying your successes and scolding your missteps. But I am a father who watches the doorway more than the scorecard, a bridegroom who hears one footstep and runs, a friend who keeps the porch light on when the road is dark. My ache is not the bitterness of rejection. It is the persistence of love, the steady warmth that will not cool even when your attention wanders. I ache when you carry what I promised to shoulder, when you starve your soul while food waits in my word, when you barter your worth for applause that fades as quickly as a notification tone. I ache when shame rehearses its script and you let it speak as if it were me. When you call yourself names my mouth will never form. When you say you are too complicated to be healed, too tangled to be held, too late to be led into newness. Child, hear me. My heart toward you is ferociously kind. I have loved you with a love that outlasts your cycles and outvotes your fears. I have placed in you gifts that do not expire, callings that do not shrink because a season did, seeds that are waiting for the rain of your yes. My ache is the pressure of spring beneath frozen ground, the promise that what looks silent is about to sing. Let me feel this longing with you, not to burden you but to bathe you in the truth of my affection. Rest your head against the cadence of my heart and hear that it does not race with panic or falter with disappointment. It beats steady with delight. It keeps time with mercy. It sets the rhythm for a future where you walk unafraid. I do not love a future version of you. I love you now, in this breath, in this room, with these questions. If you could see the joy that floods heaven when your gaze turns half an inch toward me, you would understand why I keep calling. I am not tired of pursuing you. I am not shy about wanting you near. I do not ration my presence or budget my patience. I have draped the universe with invitations and sealed them with the blood that says, you are worth everything to me. So come, not to appease me but to answer me. Let my owing become your bowing. Let the ache you feel when the night grows honest become the altar where you finally say, I am ready, and find that I have always been here, ready to. Lean in, closer than your worry, closer than your heartbeat, because my whisper is weaving through the static, and I am speaking to you now. You keep waiting for fireworks and fault lines, for the kind of sign that knocks you to the ground and leaves you without a doubt. But I am the God who hides treasure in plain sight, the God who tucks guidance into the ordinary until your attention becomes holy enough to notice. You say the world is loud, and it is, but noise is not sovereign. It is only busy. I do not compete with clamor, I outlast it. When your notifications stack like restless birds and your thoughts flock toward everything unfinished, I slip into the spaces in between, the quiet seams that hold your day together, and I speak. I speak in the softened edge of an argument you chose not to escalate, in the sudden desire to step outside and breathe, in the name that nudges your mind so you will pray, in the scripture that rises unbidden and lands like a warm hand on your shoulder. My whisper is not fragile. It is focused. It does not shout because it knows precisely where to place its weight. On your motives, on your next small step, on the part of your heart that is finally ready to loosen its grip. You think guidance must feel dramatic, but child, revelation often arrives as recognition. You realize you already knew what was true because I had been singing it softly beneath your worries for weeks. I will not make you deaf to everything else. I will teach you to hear me through everything else. Let the kettle hiss. Let the traffic hum. Let the coworkers fill the air with their stories. I can braid my guidance through the soundtrack of your life until you discover that the world is not an obstacle to hearing me but the very canvas on which my voice paints. When you wash dishes, listen for me in gratitude. When you draft emails, listen for me in the desire to be honest and kind. When you scroll, listen for me in the holy discontent that says, enough for now. Look up. My whisper will not flatter your ego or feed your fear. It will always pull you toward love, toward truth, toward courage that serves rather than impresses. Do not despise the gentle nudge. It is how I steer ships without breaking their masts. Do not distrust the persistent idea that will not leave you. Test it in the light of my character, and if it smells like humility and hope, walk with it. Yes, there are other voices. Accusation that wants to shrink you, anxiety that wants to scatter you, nostalgia that wants to freeze you in a version of yourself I have already outgrown. But my whisper is recognizable. It carries rest within the instruction, peace within the prompting, dignity within the correction. I do not belittle you into obedience. I befriend you into transformation. Open your Bible, not as a task but as a doorway. Let one sentence burn slowly until it becomes a lamp for your next hour. Ask me simple questions as you move. What is loving here? What is true here? What is brave here? And watch how the answers rise like spring water from a ground already seeded by my spirit. Train your ears by practicing small yeses. The yes to apologize first, the yes to stop scrolling and intercede, the yes to leave a margin of time that kindness can inhabit, the yes to close your lips when defensiveness begs to speak. Each yes sharpens your hearing until you find me in the very places that once felt godless. And when you miss me, when you sprint through a day and only realize at midnight that you didn't look up once, I will still be whispering, not sulking. The same kindness, the same direction, the same invitation to begin again before your head touches the pillow. Child, you are not far. Your ears are learning. Let the world be loud if it must, but let your heart become a sanctuary where a whisper is enough. Do not mistake my quiet for absence. I was there in the stillness you found uncomfortable, crafting strength in you that only grows in unamplified rooms. You have prayed and waited, asked and watched, and when the answer didn't come on your timetable or in your preferred tone, you wrote a story called God Stopped Speaking. But I never stopped. I shifted how I sounded so you could grow where you could not see. Silence, in my hands, is not punishment. It is preparation, a kiln where soft clay is made steadfast, a winter that roots the tree more deeply so spring doesn't break it with its own fruit. I know how you crave certainty, and I honor that desire by deepening your trust beyond the need for constant fireworks. When you felt the ceiling press low over your prayers, I was lowering distractions, not access. When you felt nothing in worship, I was widening your capacity for faithfulness, teaching your love to breathe without being chased by feelings. When the doors you were sure I endorsed did not open, I was redirecting your steps from good to best, from almost to appointed, sealing the wrong room so the right one would be unmistakable when it opened with peace instead of panic. I have watched you interpret my quiet as rejection, and then quietly reject yourself in response, calling your hunger immaturity, your questions disloyalty, your tears evidence that you don't believe. Child, hear me. I take your tears seriously. They are language in my courtroom. I do not shame your questions. I hold them until the day the answer won't bruise you. I do not despise your hunger. I am answering it by making you a person who can carry what you asked for without it crushing your ribs. You say you were silent, but remember the friend who arrived unannounced when loneliness tried to make a home. The sermon that felt generic until one sentence lit up like lightning inside your chest. The dream that did not give instructions but gave courage. The sunrise that turned your window into stained glass and your kitchen into a chapel. Silence never means vacancy. It often means I am speaking in a wider grammar, through creation, through community, through endurance, through the peculiar peace that escorted you even when nothing changed. And when I truly hold back words, it is because I am making room for yours, teaching you to pour, to lament, to name the ache instead of numbing it, to learn that intimacy grows in honest waiting as surely as it grows in answered prayer. Do not despise this training. It is building in you a steadiness that storms cannot bribe. In the quiet, you learn to sift voices. Fear is urgent and vague. Shame is loud and final. My spirit is specific and kind. In the quiet, you discover that your worth is not negotiated by outcomes. It is anchored in my unchanging delight. In the quiet, your motives unclench, your hurried fix-it becomes for me, and you are shaped, not into someone who never feels the dark, but into someone who carries a light that does not need a pause to burn. Keep coming, even when you feel nothing. Keep opening the book, even when a single verse is the only flame you can find. Keep showing up where love can locate you, at the table, in the gathered worship, in the secret place where you name your need and then rest. My silence is never the end of the conversation. It is the sacred pause between inhaling grace and exhaling obedience. Wait with me, and you will discover that quiet is the cradle where my next word is swaddled, and when it arrives, it will fit your hands. Watch your feet. Those pathways glittered with promise. But I knew from the start some of them were lined with shadows hidden behind the glare. You chose roads that looked like sunrise, bright, wide, welcoming, and I followed you down them, not because I endorsed every turn, but because I never left your side. Yet the spotlight opened rooms you could not breathe in. Applauses praised masks you could not live with. Achievements hollowed your soul when you stopped to listen. I saw how the bright facades tempted you, how success felt like safety and spotlight like proof, and how when the applause ceased you found yourself wind smoke thin, a promise in reverse. You thought you were pursuing the light I placed before you, but many times you followed the lantern of culture, the torch of ambition, the flare of approval, and those lights cast longer shadows than you realized. The roads that promised highlight reels led you into hidden corridors of exhaustion, comparison, regret, and shallow joy. You believed your value would multiply with achievement, your identity secured by completion, your purpose proven by applause. But I whisper now, Your identity never needed that side stage. Your purpose was not a performance, it was a pulse, and it begins in my presence. I've held your footsteps even when you didn't know, my hand at your back when the turning wasn't obvious. When you arrive at the place you told yourself you would feel whole and instead discovered emptiness, that was not surprise to me. I already knew the echo your heart would hear in the grand hall of triumph, empty. When you got there and found yourself still longing, I was waiting at the door labeled enough. I have no disdain for the roads you traveled. I have compassion for the traveler who believed the road could become destination. I am calling you now to step off the map you followed and trust the compass I placed in you. It points toward two things: union with me and love for others. Everything else is the detour. You don't have to erase the paths you took. They can become gray stones, each scar a sermon of my mercy. But you do need to leave the arena of self-justification and enter the sanctuary of rest. Let the roads you drove in haste guide you home in humility. Let the glamour you chased reveal how my quiet beauty is beyond spotlight. I am not asking you to burn the road behind you. I am inviting you to walk the back door of your own life, where I meet you unheralded, where your worth is not negotiated by achievement, where your breath is enough. The light I cast is not the spotlight, it is the lamp I set in the heart of the humble. Your journey toward me demands no banner, only an open hand. You have played your part, now come to your place. Now feel this. I have not stopped walking toward you, even when you walked away. I remained steps away, covering every mile you would later have to retrace. Child, understand this. I am God, and yet I enter into this pursuit not as a distant deity, but as a father bent low to meet you where you are. In the times you felt unseen, overlooked, unworthy of love, I was there placing conferences of grace around your soul so you would eventually turn and know you were followed. You tracked away into the wilds of independence, pride, and self-reliance, believing you could outrun the one who knit you in your mother's womb. But I pursued you not to shame you, but to welcome you home. The gentleness of my pursuit is the thunder of my love disguised as grass under your feet. When you resisted the voice you recognized, I didn't ambush you. I sat where you last paused, coffee cooling, waiting for your next breath to remember me. When you built walls, my feet circled them, and I whispered, "There is a door." When you scattered in 100 directions, my spirit remained at the center, still murmuring your name. I didn't track you because I lost you when you wandered. I tracked you because I knew you would wander, and I chose to be faithful in your absence. You felt the consequence of distance in your relationships, the emptiness of achievements that left you hollow, the echo of your own voice in rooms once full. But I felt the absence of your presence in my heart. I missed you like a father misses a child who stopped coming home for dinner. I longed for your laughter in the hall, your shoulder leaning into mine, your courage reflected in your eyes rather than your success. And now I speak. The pursuit stops when you turn. The compass needle swings toward me when your heart ceases fleeing and begins leaning. I do not hound you into submission. I beckon you into union. I do not demand that you wipe your slate clean before you sit with me. I meet you in the space you occupy, offered as you are, longing as you are, wounded but whole in my sight. You think you must make peace, clear your record, earn your welcome, but your welcome was declared before the world weighed you down. Your name was never on a to clean up list. It was inscribed in my book of delight. So come. Turn slowly. Let your glance drift toward me and feel how everything else shifts. The dust lifts, the rusted hinge eases, the door swings, and you step inward, not into pressure but into presence. I will release the pursuit form the moment you simply stop running. You do not have to announce your surrender. You only have to lean your head, let your shoulders unclench, and whisper, "I'm here." Then you will find me, waiting with arms open, sleeves rolled up, not judging your mess but making your mess into mercy, your wandering into worship, your distance into dwelling. Do you remember the way your heart once trembled at the sound of my name? That moment when you first felt me, not as a story or a sermon, but as the living presence who knew you completely and loved you anyway. You didn't analyze that moment. You simply surrendered. Your soul opened like a window to morning, and the light came rushing in. You talked to me then, not as a ritual but as a reflex. Your words were simple, unpolished, but real, and I loved every syllable that stumbled from your heart. You sang without waiting for the right mood. You wept without shame when my spirit brushed across your soul. You believed I could do anything, because deep down, you remembered that I already had. I had taken a weary heart and filled it with wonder. But over time, the world whispered that such love was naive, that faith must be managed, that passion must be refined. Slowly, life layered you with responsibilities, disappointments, and the quiet fatigue that adulthood disguises as wisdom. You still love me, but the fire has dimmed beneath the ashes of familiarity. You pray, but your prayers have learned restraint. You worship, but you often stand outside your own longing, watching it instead of joining it. Yet even now, I remember how your heart once burned. I remember the way you would rush to tell me every small victory, how you trusted me with secrets you didn't even understand, how you believed I could move mountains simply because I said so. And my child, I still see that love in you. It has not died. It has only quieted, waiting for breath, waiting for permission to rise again. Do not be ashamed to return to that beginning. I am not asking you to chase emotions. I am asking you to rekindle intimacy. Come sit with me like you once did. No agenda, no performance, just presence. Let the nostalgia you feel become an altar, not a wound. The faith you had was never childish. It was pure. It was trust unblued by calculation. You did not outgrow it. You simply buried it beneath the noise of survival. But I am stirring the embers. I am calling you back to simplicity, back to the joy of knowing me for the sake of knowing me. When you worshipped me in those early days, you didn't do it for answers, you did it for love. That's where I want to meet you again, not in the place of striving, but in the place of surrender. Bring me your questions, but don't let them steal your wonder. Bring me your doubts, but don't let them bury your song. I have not changed, and the love that first awakened you still flows like a river beneath the ground of your routine. You will find it when you dig with honesty, when you let your soul grow quiet enough to feel the pulse of grace again. Remember, child, I never left that first moment. I have been standing there, waiting for your return, not as a stranger, but as the same God who held your trembling heart and whispered, "You are mine." I have watched you carry what was never meant to live on your shoulders. You took up burdens the world told you were noble, to provide, to perform, to please, to prove, and though you wear them like badges, they have left you weary. You wake up already tired, measuring your worth by lists you can never finish, comparing your behind the scenes with everyone else's highlight reels. You call it responsibility, but I see the quiet panic behind your drive, that subtle fear that if you ever stop moving, everything will fall apart. You say you trust me, yet you clutch control like oxygen. And still, I do not scold you. I understand the weight you carry. The world has told you that rest is laziness, that gentleness is weakness, that dependence is failure. But child, I build you to need me. You were never meant to bear the gravity of existence alone. Every time you try, your soul bends under pressure it was never designed to sustain. I have seen the way your shoulders tighten when you think no one is watching, how your mind replays mistakes you cannot undo, how you keep apologizing for simply being tired. You think strength means pretending you're fine, but real strength is found in honesty, in letting me see what exhausts you. When I said, "Come to me, all who are weary," I wasn't offering poetry, I was offering relief. You don't have to prove your devotion by enduring burnout. I am not impressed by how much you endure without help. I am moved when you finally ask. Lay it down, my beloved. The image of perfection you chase is a ghost. Let me carry what you cannot. I know you fear that if you let go, you will lose everything, but what you will lose is only the illusion of control. You will gain peace in exchange. You will find that the world's heavy hand is powerless against my gentle one. Rest is not retreat, it is restoration. When you stop striving long enough to breathe in my presence, you will remember who you are. Not a machine built for endless motion, but a soul designed for communion. The burdens that crush you today are the very things I long to transform into testimonies of grace. You do not have to fix everything. You only need to fall into my rhythm, unhurried, unforced, anchored in love. Let me teach you that the world's applause cannot hold a candle to my approval. Let me rewrite your definition of success to look like peace. And when the weight tries to climb back onto your shoulders, as it will, you will know how to lay it down again, quickly, confidently, without guilt. Because by then, you will have learned what freedom feels like, not the freedom of escaping responsibility, but the freedom of walking beside me, carrying only what we carry together. Child, I see the way you keep reaching for control, clutching the reins with trembling hands, whispering to yourself, "I can do this. I just have to try harder." You were never designed to live as if love depended on your performance. I built you for partnership, for breath shared between heaven and earth, for a life that draws its strength from my spirit, not from adrenaline or pride. But the world you walk through preaches another gospel. It tells you to be independent, to fix yourself, to prove your value by producing results. So you grind. You plan. You carry invisible weights through nights that never feel long enough to rest. You call it responsibility, but beneath the surface, it is fear. Fear that if you loosen your grip, everything will crumble, that if you stop striving, you will be forgotten. Yet here I am, the one who hung galaxies without your help, whispering that rest is not failure and need is not weakness. You think you are being strong by doing it alone, but strength is not the absence of dependence. It is the courage to depend on the right one. I did not command you to strive. I invited you to abide. The vine does not apologize for drawing life from its root, and neither should you. When you insist on self-sufficiency, you build walls where I meant for windows. You measure success by how little you need me, and you call the loneliness that follows independence. My heart aches when you confuse exhaustion for excellence. You burn the candle at both ends and then pray for more fire, not realizing I offer oil instead. I am not asking you to stop caring or to stop working. I am asking you to stop pretending that your worth is held together by your effort. You are not the savior of your family, your workplace, your story. I am. You are not failing when you admit you are tired. You are simply remembering that you are human. My divinity does not mock your limits. It meets them. I delight in being needed, not because I crave control, but because I crave closeness. When you surrender your illusion of independence, you give me room to prove my faithfulness. Do you not know, child, that I have already gone ahead of you? The door you are forcing is one I will open when the time is kind. The prayer you think you must answer through your own ingenuity is one I have already placed on the path of my timing. Stop striving to be your own provider. Let me be what I promised. Jehovah Jireh, the God who supplies. Every time you say, I've got this, when your heart is breaking, I whisper, you don't have to. Every time you push away the help I send, through people, through moments, through rest, I feel the distance that pride builds, and still I stay near. My spirit is not oppressed by your strength. He is moved by your surrender. When you finally say, Lord, I can't, heaven doesn't sigh in disappointment. It erupts in activity. Angels are dispatched. Provision begins to move. Doors creak open. I am not asking you to shrink. I am asking you to lean. Dependence is not a demotion. It is a return to design. So loosen your grip, my beloved. Let the world call it weakness if it must. You will know it as peace. And when you finally lay down the burden of being your own savior, you will find me already kneeling beside you, hands open, whispering, now, let me carry this with you. Listen, can you feel the way your spirit softens when I say those words? Kavum. They are not an accusation. They are an embrace spoken before you even turn your head. You have wandered through deserts of distraction, crossed fields of disappointment, built houses in valleys that were never meant to keep you. You've tried to make foreign soil feel like belonging, but even there, your soul has whispered that something sacred is missing. That whisper is me. It is not the voice of guilt. It is the sound of grace calling you by name. When I say, come home, I am not summoning you to a place. I am calling you back to a presence, back to the heart you once knew as safe, back to the table where your name has never been erased. You think you need to clean yourself up first, to untangle your past, to fix the damage before you cross the threshold. But, child, home is where healing happens. You do not wash before the bath. You do not pay before the feast. You simply come. I built this home with mercy for walls, forgiveness for foundation, and love for light. Every step you take toward me is met by 10 of mine toward you. When you take one breath of surrender, I take the rest as invitation. I do not wait on the porch tapping my foot. I run. I run toward you with laughter in my voice, not lecture. I throw open the door and let my joy spill out onto the road because you, my child, have remembered where you belong. You say, but I've wasted so much time. I say, then let me redeem it. You say, I've gone too far. I say, not far enough to outrun love. You say, I'm not worthy. I say, you never needed to be. I made you mine. The world will try to shame your return, to whisper that you are too late or too broken. But heaven will drown out their noise with celebration. I am not calling you home to punish you. I am calling you home to heal you. The prodigal story was never about shame. It was about reunion. You do not need to explain your journey. I already walked it with you. You do not need to justify your pain. I felt it on the cross. You do not need to fear my reaction. The scars in my hands are proof that my welcome is irreversible. When you come home, I do not meet you at the door with conditions. I place a robe over your shoulders, covering the years of wandering, and a ring on your hand, restoring your authority as my beloved. I prepare a feast not because you earned it, but because love celebrates return. Hear me, child. I am whispering, come home not in judgment but in joy. Come home from cynicism, from fear, from the exhaustion of pretending you're fine. Come home to quiet mornings where you can breathe again. Come home to my word that still speaks life. Come home to laughter that sounds like freedom. You will find that I was never far, the distance was illusion. You will find that even your detours have become testimonies. You will find that home is not what you left, it is who I am. And as you step across the threshold, trembling with relief, you will hear it again. Softly, tenderly, forever. Welcome home, my child. You were always mine. Look closely, child. The door you thought was locked has never truly been shut. You stood outside it for so long, rehearsing your apologies, convincing yourself that the hinges had rusted from disuse, that my mercy had an expiration date. You've believed the whisper of shame that said you forfeited your welcome, that too much time has passed. Too many mistakes have stacked themselves between us like stones. But I tell you the truth, the door to my heart has never closed. It remains open, not because of your effort, but because of my covenant. The threshold is still bright with grace. The handle still fits your hand. You left thinking you had to find your way back, but child, the house of mercy has been following you the whole time. Wherever you wandered, it stretched its light to touch your path, waiting for the moment you would notice it again. I have not changed the locks. I have not replaced your name. I have not replaced you. The enemy of your soul wants you to believe that grace is a one-time gift, that forgiveness has a quota. But I tell you, mercy is the architecture of this house. It was built to endure your humanity. Every sigh, every relapse, every weary return has already been accounted for in the design of my love. You do not enter because you are worthy. You enter because I am faithful. You do not come in because you have succeeded at repentance. You come because repentance is the door itself, and I am standing in it, arms wide, whispering, "Come in, child. You belong here. You don't have to crawl. You don't have to knock timidly as though I might not answer. Walk in boldly. You are still family here. There is bread on the table, a robe by the fire, a seat still bearing the imprint of your absence. I have saved your laughter for this moment. I have prepared joy for your return. I have not erased your place or reassigned your calling. You see rubble, but I see restoration waiting for your yes. The door remains open because I refuse to build a kingdom without you in it. I refuse to let shame dictate your distance. I refuse to let regret write your story's ending. You say, "But I left too long ago," and I answer, "You were never truly gone. I walked with you even through the exile of your doubt." The threshold is not guarded by angels with swords, it is guarded by love with scars. And those scars speak louder than your failures. They declare that nothing, not sin, not fear, not the years, can keep you from coming home. So take the step. Cross the line between guilt and grace. Feel the air shift as peace greets you like an old friend. Let the door close behind you not as rejection of your past, but as protection for your future. You are safe here. You are seen here. You are mine here. And if you wonder again, and yes, sometimes you will, remember this: the door will never be locked. Mercy will always wait with the light on. Now that you've stepped inside, let me begin the work I've been dreaming of, the rebuilding of your heart. You came to me thinking I would scold, that I would show you the ruins of what could have been and make you sit among them. But I am not a God of ruins. I am a God of resurrection. I do not keep you in your shame, I lead you into restoration. Child, I have watched the slow breaking of your soul, the places that fractured when people left, the dreams that withered because life did not keep its promises. I have seen how you tried to fix yourself with distractions, how you plastered cracks with busyness, how you called survival strength because it was all you had. But I am not content for you to merely survive. I want you whole. I want to rebuild not the life you lost, but the life you were meant for. The world repairs with glue, quick fixes, temporary comforts, but I rebuild from the foundation up. I will strip away the rot, not to expose you, but to heal you. I will touch the hidden corners where your hope has gone to hide and breathe on them until they remember their purpose. You think the broken pieces are useless, but I see them as materials for a masterpiece. I do not waste pain, I redeem it. The tears you cried alone were the water softening the ground for new growth. Every wound you carry will become a window for my light. You will learn that nothing truly lost in me stays buried. It becomes seed. Let me restore your vision first, the way you see yourself. You are not a failure. You are a field I am cultivating. You are not a disappointment. You are a story still unfolding. Then, I will restore your relationships, not all, but the ones aligned with your healing. I will send new hearts to walk beside you, people who love you not for what you perform but for who you are becoming. And I will restore your joy, not the shallow joy that depends on everything being perfect, but the deep joy that lives even in storms. Restoration is not instant, child. It is sacred work. It requires time, trust, and your willingness to stay while I reshape what you thought was over. Sometimes it will ache. Sometimes you will want to run. But if you stay, if you let me work beneath the surface, you will wake one morning and realize you are no longer haunted by the past, no longer defined by what broke you. You will look at your scars and see beauty where there was once only pain. I long for that moment. I long to show you what I can make of the ashes you carried. Do not fear the process. My hands are gentle. My eyes see the end from the beginning. What feels like loss is often clearing. What feels like silence is often strategy. I am not dismantling you. I am restoring you. You will stand again, stronger, softer, wiser. And when you do, you will not only be healed, you will become a healer. For every broken thing I mend in you, I plant the power to mend it in others. This is the restoration I long to begin, not just the rebuilding of your life, but the rebirth of your purpose. So stay close, child. The work has already begun, and this time, it will not end in ruins. It will end in glory. Child, I am reaching now for the places you stopped letting anyone touch. The wounds so old you stopped calling them wounds and started calling them you. You've grown around your pain like a tree that has wrapped itself around a nail. The scar became part of your shape. You think healing is pretending you don't feel it anymore. But I have come to do deeper work, to remove what has festered silently beneath your strength. I know every hidden hurt, the betrayal you still replay in the dark, the words that dug trenches in your self-worth, the abandonment that taught you to keep your guard up even with me. You've learned to function while bleeding, to smile while aching, to serve others while starving for comfort yourself. But you do not have to live anesthetized. I did not create you to carry poison in your heart and call it endurance. I have watched the way certain sounds, places, where faces can still undo you without warning. I have seen you apologize for emotions you never had permission to feel. I know how the memory of loss still knocks the wind from your lungs, how shame still whispers that you should be over it by now. My beloved, I am not impatient with your wounds. I am intimately acquainted with them. Every one of them hath been on my heart since the day they formed. And now, in this holy moment, I am inviting you to let me place my hand there. I will not press to hurt you. I will touch to heal you. My healing is not rushed. It does not demand performance or perfection. It comes as sunlight through cracks, as tenderness after years of tension. I will bring memories to the surface not to torment you, but to cleanse what still festers in silence. You've buried pain alive, and it has been whispering through your habits ever since. But I am greater than what haunts you. I can rewrite the sound cracks of your memories. I can walk with you through scenes that once crushed you until peace replaces panic and forgiveness replaces fear. Healing is not forgetting. It is remembering differently. It is seeing that I was there, even then, weeping when you wept, shielding what could still be saved, marking that wound not as a grave but as ground for future growth. You will not lose yourself by letting me heal you. You will finally meet the version of you that pain kept hidden. Let the tears come. They are not weakness, they are release. Let the anger rise. It is the alarm that tells you what has been unattended for too long. Do not shame yourself for the process. Resurrection always starts in the dark. I am not afraid of your past. I am not disgusted by your scars. I wear scars too, proof that pain can become glory. So, bring me the fragments. Bring me the confusion. Bring me the forgiveness you don't yet feel capable of giving. I will take it all. I will make the bitter sweet. I will turn wounds into wisdom and agony into anointing. You will learn to breathe without flinching. You will learn to love without fear. You will look at the places you once avoided and find them blooming with evidence of my presence. This is the healing of forgotten wounds, not an erasure, but a redemption. Not a covering up, but a cleansing. Stay still under my hand. Beloved, the touch that once terrified you will soon teach you what peace feels like again. Let go, child. Your hands have been clenched for so long that even peace cannot enter them. You have held tight to control, to fear, to plans written in ink when I asked for pencil. You've told yourself that surrender is defeat, that if you loosen your grip, you'll lose everything. But it is the opposite. The things you try to hold without me only exhaust you. The things you place in my hands find their true form. You pray for peace, but you clutch what keeps you anxious. You ask for freedom, but you hold on to what imprisons you. You want me to lead, but you hesitate when I turn the path. I see the way your shoulders tighten at the thought of letting go. I know how many times you've been told that letting go means losing, that trust is dangerous, that faith is naive. But surrender is not giving up, it's giving over. It is the sacred exchange where your striving meets my sovereignty. I am not asking you to drop everything and drift. I am asking you to place what matters most into hands that will never mishandle it. You cannot imagine how much lighter life becomes when you stop managing outcomes and start trusting presence. Surrender is not passive. It is participation with grace. It is saying, I choose to rest in what you know rather than in what I can predict. I will not take from you what you won't release. I will only invite you again and again until love outweighs fear. You keep saying, but what if I fall? And I keep whispering, what if you fly? You fear losing identity, but your truest self is found when you stop pretending to be God of your own life. I do not want your perfection. I want your permission. Let me lead, even if the way looks uncertain. Let me guide, even if it means detours you do not yet understand. Every time you surrender, you create space for miracles. When Abraham raised the knife, surrender became blessing. When Moses dropped his staff, surrender became power. When the widow gave her last meal, surrender became provision. And when I, your Savior, surrendered on the cross, surrender became victory for all time. You see, beloved, the power is not in the holding, it's in the handing over. The control you cling to is not keeping you safe, it's keeping you small. Release it. Release the what-ifs. Release the need to explain every turn. Release the belief that you are alone in this. My sovereignty is not a cage. It is a current. When you trust it, it carries you to places your own effort never could. I know surrender feels like free fall, but underneath are everlasting arms. I will not let you break. I will teach you to soar. And the moment you truly let go, you will feel it, relief before understanding, peace before answers, joy before outcomes. That is the secret power of surrender. It restores your soul before it changes your circumstance. So open your hands, child. Let go of the illusion that control equals safety. Freedom begins where fear ends. And as your fingers uncurl, as the last of your resistance falls away, you will finally realize you never lost control. You simply placed it where it always belonged, in the hands of a faithful God who never stops holding you. Look at me, child, really look, and you will see that even when every candle you lit has burned low, my light has never dimmed.